Imagine there's a mirror, but this one doesn't reflect your past. It reflects who you're becoming. And the more you stare into it, the more it stares back with possibility. And in that reflection, humiliation dissolves, like fog under sunlight. You begin to remember something you've never been taught. You realise you always knew. You were never broken, just misnamed by moments that misunderstood your magnitude. Some call it embarrassment. What if it's just emotional alchemy in disguise? Because you see, people who bounce back, they never bounce backwards. They bounce through the fire of judgment. They forge gold. Through the awkward silence, they sharpen their voice. Through humiliation, they laugh. Not because it didn't hurt, but because they knew they're bigger than the moment. And perhaps you've had moments like that too, where your voice cracked in the wrong room, where eyes turned on you like spotlights of shame, and still, here you are, which means something survived in you, something strong. So maybe now you're learning something else, something deeper than coping. You're learning how to transform. And people who recover, they don't deny humiliation. They don't suppress it. They welcome it as a teacher, as a trickster, as a test. And then they turn the test into testimony. Because what used to make you shrink now becomes a tool to stretch. Let me ask you, when a child falls and laughs, was that shame or was that freedom in progress? So you might begin to notice something unusual now. Though it once felt like painful social exposure, might start to feel like a ritual of renewal. Let's take a few examples. One person shares a story of public failure, and everyone leans in, because it's real. They don't recoil, they relate. They don't laugh at, they laugh with. Because authenticity is magnetic. Because what once was shame is now leadership. Another person, they freeze during a presentation, but then they smile, make a joke, a moment passes. But that grace under pressure stays, not because they avoided humiliation, because they danced with it. And what if that becomes your pattern? Pattern of power, pattern of freedom, pattern of playful presence. You know, there are some people, they can walk through the fire of embarrassment and come out laughing, while others, they still fear the flame. Why? Because the first ones learned to change how they picture it in their mind. They dim the image, shrink the sound, take the colour out of the voice that once mocked them. They shrink it so small, so distant it becomes funny. You might even try that yourself now, just for fun, just to see what shifts. What becomes a joke becomes a jewel. What if you always had this power? What if confidence isn't earned but awakened? Humiliation never defined you, never could. It was just a costume, and you've been the author all along. You're not the moment, you're the meaning maker. Embedded deep within the human spirit is a capacity to transform shame into sovereignty, to take humiliation and use it like compost for greatness. To realise, when others laugh, it only has power when you believe them. And if you don't, it becomes air, it becomes nothing. And you might begin to notice now, as you imagine your future self, more whole, more relaxed, more magnetic, you can step into that skin now, not later, not after another success, now. Let's loop back, because this is more than language, it's a new operating system, a structure, an architecture of self, with new assumptions running silently. The vulnerability is valour, that humour dissolves shame. What makes you human makes you unforgettable. And more than that, you know how to do this now. You've modelled it, you've imagined it, you felt the truth of it stir inside you. So when someone mocks, you smile, because you know something they don't. Their ridicule is a mirror of their fear, and your laughter is your liberation. Because you've decided now, humiliation, it's no longer something that happens to you. It's something you metabolize into power. You've lived it. You're living it now. From this moment on, you walk into the world knowing you are unfuckawithable. You are the storm that they try to name. The more that they try to shame you, the brighter you shine. That is how immunity begins. Not with rejection, but with rebirth. Not with armour, but with artistry. So now you know. Now you remember. And now you're free.